Five, four, three, two, one. Today is Friday, April 17th, 2020, and you are listening to episode 4 of Triple D.
Hello and welcome to Deacons Discussing Doctrine. It's Friday and we're here at the end of a long Easter week. The octave of Easter, is that the right terminology? The octave.
We're in the
Octave of Easter. And it's Deacon Tim, Deacon Dallas, and Father Lynn all together again for this week, which we hope will be a great episode. We've got a lot planned, so not a lot of reason to monologue here. We'll just say if you've got questions, make sure you put them in the comments. If you've got thoughts about future episodes or things that you want us to investigate or talk about, make sure you put those in the comments or send us an email. Our emails are in the bulletin, and they're also in the event that was posted on Facebook. So we have those, and we're ready to go. And we're, as always, we start with current events. I'm not springing it on you like I sprung it on you last week. Does either one of you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
Sure, you go first.
You're going to have me go first. Okay. So my current events, I don't know if anybody heard, yesterday was Pope Benedict Emeritus birthday. He's 93 years old, and what's special about that is if he lives another 140 days, he will be the oldest pope to have ever lived, which is quite amazing, really, if you think about it. First pope to resign, and
Did you have to look that up?
it came across CNN. But no, I did look it up. I did look up the fact that he would be the oldest pope. Now, some people would say that he doesn't qualify because he's not really the Pope right now. He's the Pope Emeritus. But the Pope who was the oldest when he died, if he lasts another 140 days. And, he looked good. I saw some videos of him yesterday, and I think he looks good. So
must be all the beard that he got.
Yeah, his brother usually visits him, who's like 94. He's a year older than him. Usually visits him, and they drink a Bavarian beer together. And because of the coronavirus, they were unable to spend his birthday together. So, things change. Second thing I had is the first diocese opened up for masses in the U.S.
Well, that was week. Part of what I was going to talk about.
Well, go ahead. I'll segue into you. But
no, we're talking about the one in New Mexico.
Yeah, Las Cruces.
A bishop announced that. Was it a bishop or yeah?
Yeah, it was bishop.
Yeah, bishop announced that he was going to start having, but
only 5 people.
Yeah, because I didn't quite understand the stand he was taking. He's going to open it. Okay, we're having masses, but we're still going to follow the state law that the governor set forth, which is 5 less than we're allowed. In our state, right?
Mm-hmm.
5 people are allowed in it, so he's still going to follow that.
Right.
So I didn't quite understand the statement he was making or the stand he was taking.
Well, I think the stand is this, that every diocese in the United States currently before him had a ban on all public masses. So you couldn't have a public mass. And he's the first one to reverse that by saying he can have a public mass, which will have 4 people in attendance for a public mass. I don't know if he'd sell tickets or what he would do. He'd probably be a good way to fundraise, wouldn't it?
Well, I talked to a priest before the Tridium from Covington. They're not allowed to celebrate mass the way we do.
Live streaming.
Live streaming.
Wow.
Not for us as parishes. So therefore, like a Holy Thursday, the dean, priests from that dean get together and have a mass. Per dean. Nobody participate. It was amazing. It's much more strenuous than us here. They will go and beyond Governor Bashir's prescription. Why? I have no idea. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to realize that obviously, the bishops feel they want to do their part for social distancing, obviously, but they also have to balance the whole factor of their parishioners are starving. And the comments that I see on Facebook quite a bit are related to, you can worship Jesus just as well at home as you can in church. And I think that's maybe true for every other religion except for Catholics, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I myself, being a priest and a pastor, received numerous requests, to receive Jesus. Numerous requests. The Hispanic community, a lot of our parishioner. It's tough. It's very tough. And
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
And that's just kind of what I was my current event was talking about when are we as Catholics going to get back to the sacraments? And we still don't know the answer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm like Tim, you see all these comments on Facebook from parishioners, our parishioners, and even outside our state, people making comments, and it's to me it's somewhat, we're longing for the sacraments, but we're kind of dividing ourselves. We need to stop. Okay, and that's just my opinion, and my opinion only. But because you've got sarcastic comments being made of people who are wanting them and going beyond what the state government might say, and people commenting on that, and people getting on them for that, and then you got the other way around. Even ones going out in public, Well, just like, for example, and this didn't have to do with Catholics in general, but the people who marched on Frankfurt the other day, some kind of protest with the governor. And you'll see comments, people really getting on him for going against what the governor setting forth. And I'm thinking, I am not at all saying that they should have done that, but when people's livelihoods are at stake, you go to desperate means to try to get to survive. And the same thing goes with the sacraments. People are longing for them really bad, and so they're trying to put pressure on the bishops, and the bishops are in a bind too.
Mm-hmm.
They have to weigh both, give them the sacraments and don't get people sick, and they hear it from both sides. If they start allowing it too soon and people start getting sick, they'll get ridiculed, and vice versa. So, I don't know the answer to when we're going to get back to it.
Yep.
But we need to just stay together, stay the course, keep longing. Yes, we're longing for it. Keep praying, and do our best to stay united. And when it's over,
I think the peace is so
back.
beautiful, from this virus, Corona per se, but it does challenge us beyond the norm of our how long we can persistently or persevere. You know what I'm saying? Just like you exercise, right? The New Year resolution. Oh yeah, everybody join the gym. First 2 weeks we drop down to 15%. By the fourth week we're down to 2%. The level of perseverance. In pastoral counseling too, we face that, right? The amount of people accomplished through the perseverance to succeed in go through the whole program of counseling. Usually they say less than 2% accomplished. But this whole thing, it driving people and say, I'm going to stick with course. I'm going to stick with the governor. Trust him. You know what I'm saying? For us too. We all long for the Eucharist, but there is a pandemic that we have to consider. And a lot of people become drawn to the selfishness. So those are some beautiful thoughts to consider across the board.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's not a wrong answer.
Right.
I think both perspectives have valid points. And both of them will cause people harm. One of them's a virus that can cause death, and the other one is economic disaster, which can lead to all kinds of problems that we can't even quantify today. Right?
But you got to admit, people are questioning some of the laws of the state.
Sure.
Liquor stores are open, but you can't go worship in a church. Abortion clinics are open, but you can't go worship in a church. That's pretty problematic. From the person who wants to go worship in a church.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you can make the same argument about you can go in Kroger or Walmart or Lowe's, but you can't go in a church.
Right.
Is the solution that you restrict? And I don't know how we would do it, but let's say that they say, okay, you can have 30 people in a church. How do you decide which 30 people are going to go in? Because you're not going to say 10 masses on a Sunday. I mean, that's just not practical, right?
Let's cast lot.
or sell seats.
Sell seats.
we do need
get back to selling indulgences.
Let indulgence come back just
you
like
can't
that.
sell sacraments.
One of the things that we've obviously talked about, and I think that in general, I think you're seeing some of this around, even in the state, but around the country as well, is drive-in masses, and we've talked about that, doing that at Cardone, but it works really well if you're a Baptist congregation or Methodist or whatever. But when you get to be Catholic, it creates a lot of problems, right? A lot of issues with the real presence. How do you handle that? How do you give out communion? Or do you just have mass with no communion? Which, obviously we could do
just
that,
the priest or the deacons that would have the communion.
Right. Yeah, right. You'd still have the holy sacrifice of the mass, but the parishioners and the attendees wouldn't actually receive communion.
Coming up, I'm going to have a funeral coming up, and not from our parish, but from other church, and so the pastor, Prudence, suggested not to have mass. Of course, practice social distance, limit the number, but basically we'll do a service, and then we'll do an interment in cemetery, and then later on, after all this done and gone, then we have a celebration, big celebration with mass. It's tough, it's painful, but
Now, if I had a thought today, tell me if you think this is right or wrong. I can see when we're allowed, because we're going to be allowed to go back to church. There's not going to be zero coronavirus out there, right? Okay.
Right.
Before we're allowed to go back, we're going to be allowed to go back with it still out there, but on the decline. I can see us still for a while not having the cup, offering the cup for a while.
Right now, it's too early to predict anything. Definitely, we rely on the CDC and what the professional can tell us. I'm sure our bishop very prudent on that, and so, like I say, further down the road, we still speculation. That actually, was a parishioner very concerned. Can we receive from the cup anymore?
Ever.
Exactly. And then my response is be patient with it.
Be patient. But we're so used to receiving from the cup in the last few decades. But before that, nobody received from the cup but the priest at the altar.
Yeah, I mean, growing up, we never received from the cup. Yeah.
Didn't happen. So.
Yeah, one of our listeners said, hey, we can use that as the new raffle. We were talking about having a raffle at the Fall Festival. First 50 people get to come to the first public mass.
That's when the indulgence problem settled in. Returning the indulgence.
But I just hope everyone listening out there remember this time, because when we can come back, remember how bad it was not receiving the sacraments, and don't take them for granted.
How important it is, yeah.
So, what I'm saying is, the first time Father Lynn can hear confessions in that cry room, the line should be down the street, right? Right?
Actually,
it should be down the street.
The line already spread already, but practice social distance today. I hear what, 6 or 7 people. I kind of spread them out, and very respectful.
But it's right now it's by appointment only.
Yes.
Yeah.
Appointment. But this one appointment, it turned out to be 6 people under one roof. Is it good?
Yeah.
So we, the new wall is beautiful. It's set apart, so it's not face to face.
Yeah. So all listening out there, there's a new wall in the cry room.
Yes.
For
Come and see the new revelation.
Yeah, a
So
new
next time
divider. Yeah.
Maybe next time Deacon Tim need to take a picture of that and post it up for people
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah,
to let them know about.
Picture of the. Maybe we'll do a little video and we just can run that, as a little ad in here of the new confessional. Yeah, if you haven't seen it, and obviously not a lot of people have seen it, but
I mean, I'll tell you right now, I used to go face to face for the longest time, but I haven't been face to face in years. I just like behind the curtain, so to speak.
Well, that was during this time.
Especially since I've got to know more and more priests now that I'm a deacon. I don't want them knowing who I am.
But once the corona broke out, because there were a few bishops considered just bring back behind the screen only.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. So.
Well, Father, do you have any current events outside of what we've already talked about, or?
Not a whole lot. This week for me is quite interesting. Encounter a lot of the difficulty. Like a funeral that we have to celebrate, sadly, but extremely limited. There was something was quite powerful actually. That was brought to my attention was there was a doctor, in ER. And something moved him because he heard so many people coronavirus, if not even, die alone. And he felt he had to do something. He talked to me about it and he said, is there something I can do? Because I'm there 24/7 and I got masks on, I got gears on. It's something I can do. And this lead into later on your topic had to do with the pardoning. So we met here outside, social distance, beyond social distance actually, because he said I'm pretty sure I don't have it, but again we have to respect that. We have a powerful conversation. He was in tears. I commissioned him, and I say, here I have a Eucharist for you. Go in there, give him a quick instruction how to dispense the consecrated host for the people that need it. Gave him plenty of information about lay ministry praying for the people dying. The man was in tears, and he said, "Am I worthy to do this?" So I affirmed him. I'm not worthy either, because believe me, priests sin as much as lay people. And we almost have that viral hug, not touching each other from 13 feet apart.
Air elbow bumps.
And it's a beautiful testament, of that. And so that's something currently happened, I'm sure, throughout the United States, the creativity. But one thing I dare say, based on this experience of that doctor, I say, the church going to relook a lot of interesting. Right after that, I talked to our own first responder. And I talked to them, I say, you all seen a lot of people tragic death. Do you know you have that power to pray with the people? You know what I'm saying? And give them the freedom, the pardon that God called them to, And they did some part of them pray to themselves. But, for me, this whole thing, the church will revisit a lot of lay involvement in the power to call down the Spirit to pray for the people, to relieve them from condemnation, perhaps, in death. So that is the latest, and something worth, brought up to you guys to hear about that. So.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that maybe this period will do is open up people's minds to ministries that we missed out on, and then actually be a part of them.
Mm-hmm.
Homebound ministry
Yes.
is a great example of kind of what you're describing, right? Somebody that's done that before and you said, hey, go do this in the hospital setting or in a medical setting, they probably wouldn't have thought twice about it. But somebody that's not comfortable doing it, it's a change for them.
A change for them.
Right.
But especially as a doctor, I talked to him. I said, you have, ability to cure or heal physical form. But they say, do you know through your baptism, you have the ability to help and support spiritual form as well.
You're a priest.
You're a
through
priest
your baptism.
through your baptism.
A lot of people don't understand that.
And that piece is like powerful. Many lay people never thought of that. We all administer to each other, in that care. And something very even sacramentally and ministerial have to be readdressed, revisit about lay empowerment of do the kind of things that need to be done. We got to receive an email from the Knight Columbus, from Scott Carter, and I think it's a very powerful email, and they want to do something, and capable.
No, we had our meeting this week. Knights of Columbus did. Had it through Zoom. It was really a good meeting, and kind of showed me that there's this yearning, this undercurrent where people want to socialize. They want to communicate with each other, and Scott is our new community director. He brought that up in our meeting. Actually, brought it up before our meeting. He sent Jeff Crump and I a note about that, and it's something. I think the Stephen Ministry has worked a little bit on that. Contacting folks that are possibly alone, and I think maybe that's our message out to folks that are listening tonight. If you know somebody, or you suspect somebody, a parishioner, that's alone and maybe needs some contact, let us know. Let the office know, I think, is where the primary point of contact goes to.
Correct.
And then either through the Knights of Columbus or through Stephen's ministry, we can maybe, have an impact on those people's lives, especially people that are, 65, 70 years old who maybe have lost their spouse and live alone, and their families can't come visit because everybody's sequestered. That's a ministry that requires, something deep inside your heart to go visit people that you don't know too well, but at least to minister to them and let them know that they're not alone.
Right. The ministry is, somehow we don't have to wait for this pandemic to figure it out, right, guys? It should go beyond the pandemic. It should be part of our calling.
Yeah. No, I mean, if let's say there's, I don't know, we have 600 families, right?
Mm-hmm.
So 1,500 parishioners, maybe. I don't know.
Almost a couple of thousand.
Yeah. If they're waiting for one of the clergy to come visit, they could be waiting a long time.
A long time.
And that's not saying that we don't want to do that, but we're limited resources. Empower the lay people. I agree. But we also have to have people that are willing to put themselves in a vulnerable position, right? I mean, I think that's one of the things that I learned, and I'm sure you did through our formation, is we go in one person, we come out another person.
Yep.
Things we do as deacons, I never would have thought I would be doing as a lay person. But it causes you to rethink a lot.
That's why I activate the Stephen Ministry. Their work are tremendously important. On behalf of the pastor, and they have a capacity to sit with people in difficulty situations and how to manage that and support people. This can easily be established. In our community outside can do this work. So we're going to talk a lot more about that for sure.
No, and we got people at home with plenty of time right now. Pray about it. Pray about how you served your church and your community and your parish previously, and how this pandemic is changing us, changing our habits, changing the way we live our lives, our interaction in our families, all those things. Pray about how that's affecting you and how you'll come out of this.
Correct.
Because it should change us all, right? Every single one of us.
I hope people would change. When people out of this and say, what, Corona? Say, you have some major problem.
Well, I want to go right into our interview of Father Lynn, is what we had planned on doing. We kind of sprung it on him at the last minute, so he didn't say no. So Dallas said, I don't have any questions for him, so I got a whole list of questions right here in my book. I got my handy book here.
Well, that's because I thought you already was making a question list for the interview.
But these are not tough questions. I mean, to me, one of the things, and I learned some of these questions a long time ago. And when I meet somebody for the first time, I use these questions to really help me remember somebody's name or something characteristic about it. And some of these things I already know the answers to, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Just because I don't think maybe some of the people that are watching don't know. They know us mostly from an hour a week, right? Mm-hmm. And that brief interaction. Maybe it's a committee meeting or something like that. And I think that's one of the things that we want to do on. We're going to start with you, but the same thing that will apply to us. We'll interview each other in the same way, but help the parishioners and other people that are watching understand a little bit more about who we are. And we're just normal people, right?
Exactly.
Right. So I was just curious, where are you from?
Now remember, don't say China. Because there'll be a fight. I don't say Wuhan either.
It's Wuhan in Vietnam.
Well, I don't know if you. Let me interrupt real quick. I told you a funny story. Been a couple years back. I work with a gentleman, and he's not Catholic, but his wife is Catholic, and they've gone to several masses and lections and stuff. And we were talking about priests, and he was talking about all priests they're so boring. I can't even listen to them preach. There's only one priest I've ever heard that even gets me going at all. Listen to him preach. Some Japanese priest. I said, "Is his name Father Lin?" "Yeah, Father Lin."
Well, if you're not going to be called, Vietnamese, you might as well be Japanese. It's better than being Chinese, I guess, right? Especially now, right? Now is a lot of racist tendencies towards China, right? I mean,
apparently they a lot of them say it out there, yeah. But that's why I think President Trump, with that few lines he throw in there, our Asian American is our friend, right? So therefore, I'm sure there was some grumbling out there in regarding to the Chinese situation. So, I'm from Vietnam originally. Okay, escaped the country in '81 by boat known as boat people, with my three brothers, dad, and my sister, and myself. Two oldest brothers escaped first in '79. They have their own story. Survived over 30 days on the ocean, no food or water, one death. So from there, we managed to escape the country by boat. That's a different story. Get more beer than I tell you about it. And we made it to Malaysia, one of the islands called Pulau Pidong, where the refugee camp was. The unique about that, quickly on that escape, was we faced the perfect storm. The movie Perfect Storm, that's what we faced. We managed to escape that, and we got chased by pirate. Who was pirate? Basically, the Thailand government allowed their fishermen to intercept any boat. Many Vietnamese died on the water. Guesstimation is about 2 million Vietnamese die on the water. A lot of them got kidnapped, raped, tremendously. I myself witnessed some of that on the island. But anyhow, the beautiful story was the day that we got chased by pirates through the perfect storm. We saw an island, and that means we are home. We are on the home stretch. And that was on Palm Sunday. We made that. So anyhow, after we made it to the island, we got sponsored by United States, and we settled into Covington, Kentucky. And eventually, myself and my sibling, we end up at University of Kentucky. And from there, I entered seminary, and then I moved to Texas.
What was Covington just based on the fact that that's where your sponsor family was from? Is that what moved you there? Or?
Yes. my two oldest brother was sponsored by a friend of my father, so they settled in Covington, and so, like I say, we literally can go anywhere based on my dad's status, and so Dad chose to settle in Covington with our siblings and the friend. So it was good, Covington, it's kind of peaceful place, no rowdy for boys. So
you went to high school there?
Yes, in grade school first. I started out with 6th grade and make my way through high school and then end up at University of Kentucky.
Where'd you go to grade school?
Latonia Elementary.
Latonia. And then did you go to Rao?
I went to Holmes High School. Yeah, Dickie Bill's.
Dickie Bill.
Dickie Bill. And then from there, University of Kentucky. Yeah.
As an engineer.
Yes, studying engineering, yes.
So you've been in the U.S. You've been in 2 dioceses then, and then
dioceses.
And you studied in a third one, right? You studied at Mundelein, right? And St. Margaret's. So
well, the interesting about our diocese, because when I joined the diocese, when I joined the priesthood, when the diocese split, we were with Covington. The diocese split in 1988, right? That is when I joined. So our diocese began with, I think, according to Bishop Ken, we started out with $3 million, okay, and non-Catholic. So he felt very unjust.
100% non-Catholic and $3 million and go build a diocese.
Go build a diocese, yes. And so I remember that. So basically, I set a lot of new record. I'm the first so-called non-Caucasian from seminarian and ordained as priest. I'm a first priest ordained sent to Eastern Kentucky. My first assignment, where your girl down there is Pikeville. Mm-hmm. That was the first assignment.
St. Francis, right?
St. Francis at Assisi. So I set a new first record.
Well, you broke the church down there. They had to build a new one, right? After you left.
That was a fun time. I think Pikeville will give a lot of excitement because my assignment was in Pikeville. 98% of my ministry is on the street because there's no sacrament. You don't baptize anybody. Hardly any death. Most of my funeral home call me. Funeral home will direct call me because they like Father Lin celebrate funeral because other minister, Church of God and Pentecostal, they preach about hell and condemnation, and Father Lin preach about Jesus love you, so he's okay. So I started soccer league. Just imagine, many people now take it for granted about soccer, but not in Pikeville. Yeah, you don't think soccer in Pikeville. And I started a soccer league, and I started the first, actually a tournament called Hillbilly Shootout. It was a big tournament. It was great. People from West Virginia coming in, it had a great time. There's a lot of fun memory with that. And we were covered 2 other churches, one in Phelps and one in Elkhorn City. The Elkhorn City was a fun one because I celebrated Mass literally with 3 people.
And those are really pretty far away from Pikeville too. I mean,
yes.
Those are not. It's not like going from Georgetown to White Sulphur to St. Francis out there, or even going into Lexington. I mean, it's a haul.
Yeah, I think before they built that Highway 69, the Interstate 69, I literally had to drive about almost 40 minutes. We call it double hump. You go over a mountain twice, and there's no road, and you go head on with a coal truck. Literally, you face the side of the rock or you face the cliff. That was something interesting experience in ministry.
So from Pikeville, you went to Mary Queen.
Pikeville went to Mary Queen, and from Mary Queen went back to Mundelein, Chicago, and then from there went to Danville, and from Danville here. The unique about this place, actually, Father Lee Trimber, the CWSO, you remember back then, okay? I was being sponsored by CWSO.
From here?
From here. And Father Lee Trimber was a dear friend. And Dr. Cleveland, okay, Clark Cleveland, and was family that sponsored me. And basically, they pretty much like mom and dad for me. So
Did the Knights of Columbus give you any of the RAFO money, the RSVP money? Did you get anything from the Knights here, out of here? Do you know?
No, this is actually, I dare say, before the night was formed.
Yeah, because that'd be a good question for Deacon John. He would know the answer, or any of those charter members would know for sure. So, here, just kind of backing up a little bit. This is one of my questions that I ask people. What did you want to do when you grew up?
What I wanted to do when I grow up.
Yeah, not from this perspective, but when you were a kid, what did you think you wanted to do with your life?
Well, first of all, as a kid, for me, basically, my childhood was robbed. I have no childhood to dream. We lost the country to communism in 1975. You know.
So you'd have been
7 years old. Okay. So therefore, your house was confiscated. Mom and dad went to prison. Everything we had was taken away. Even our family album. So literally, you live as a survivor. So therefore, you don't have a chance to think and dream. But I do remember when I came to the United States, I just wanted to become Superman or Batman.
That's a good choice.
And you became neither.
But quite interesting on that. So
that happened 6 to 7. So how much time transpires between that event and you becoming settled in Covington? Are you talking 2 years? Or are you talking 5 years? What's the number of years of turmoil?
It's 8 years.
Wow.
And so,
because I mean, I've heard your story many times, but I've always wanted to ask that question because I never could really understand. You talk about fleeing a country, you talk about getting on a boat, and that could have been a year, but it was much longer than that.
Much longer, but you think about it, your livelihood constantly on the move and make a living. So even when we came to the United States, our family, our brother, we stick together. I still remember, that summer job program. I was cleaning toilet for a Scott High School. The thing that pissed me off was kid bubble gum they stick under the chair. Oh, I used to literally spend all summer clean that stuff up.
Yeah, I remember the program because freshman, sophomore, junior year, I did the summer program too. Mm-hmm. One of the years was cleaning cleaning an elementary school.
And the first paycheck I made, you kind of make almost $250 or so. And I gave it to my brother, who's a lot older. He had a co-op at GE in Louisville. Gave the whole check to him so that he can do that.
Wow.
I think minimum wage back then when I was $2.35.
$2.35 or so, yeah.
So that might pay more than being a priest.
Oh, definitely.
I was going to say, if it doesn't work out, then you should let Dwayne Ellison know because they're constantly hiring people at the school. I think you're safe there. But I mean, so 7 or 8 years of, constant movement, not knowing what's happening.
You never know what happened. Basically, you constantly, we were on food stamp program, a government food co-op. That's why the story of our Deacon Dallas not far from me. That's why I share a lot of similarity with him. I have a big family just like yours, and we constantly on that move. The reason I jumped engineering because that's what my brother studied, so I studied engineering.
When you got to Covington, how much English did you know?
Zero. I speak
So
French better than English.
you're going to school knowing no English?
No English. Back then they had no ESL either. English as second language. There's none of that. You just jump in and swim. Thank God to a lot of great teachers, very sincere. They work with you and they support you. And you just learn how to survive. You never have a chance to thrive in a way of imagination to become what you've been called to do. My priesthood is another weird thing. I never thought I'd become a priest. I have a girlfriend, Teresa. And just literally one day, Dad just say, You ever thought of become a priest? I said, you're right. But not because I don't feel a call. Not more on the fact I feel a lot more inferior, not capable to comprehend the language. One of the things studying engineering is a cop out in itself because it's easy.
Right.
It's math.
Universal language.
Yeah, it's easy.
Right.
And so all of that came. I still strongly believe there's a lot of God providence that kind of hover over that. For me, when I entered seminary, it took me almost 4 to 5 years to discern the fact that this is what God called me, not because my dad told me to do, or because it is something I just want to run away from. I was developing a lot of anger during that time. It's just very frustrating.
Well, I mean, that's understandable.
Mm-hmm.
You have 4 brothers, right?
No, I have 7 brothers.
7 brothers.
7.
How did I miss that?
How many sisters?
1.
One sister. So
I have 6 brothers and
nine,
1.
6 brothers.
6 brothers.
So, Lou, Hua,
Yep.
he's the...
3rd. He's an engineer. The smart one.
And then you have an architect brother, Joe.
Arthur Jung.
Also known as Joe. Right?
Joe.
Joe.
Uh-huh.
And then you have a politician in the family.
Yes, Andy. No, it's Hung. And then, of course, you met all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I have. And your sister is Lynn.
Mm-hmm.
So how did she grow up with all those brothers? I mean, that had to be crazy.
Great.
Yeah.
She's like my best friend right now. She's very strong. Hang around all the brothers. We're very protective of her, and we tease her all the time. And she's very, strong-willed woman.
And you're number what?
Number 6.
6. Me too.
There you go.
A lot of similarities. So you have this big family. 2 of you are priests. I mean, did your dad approach both of you at the same time and say, "Hey, you ever think about being a priest?" Or who discerned first?
I would discern first. Hua, because how our family survived because Hua graduated first. He was computer science, and he worked for Meat Data in Dayton, and finally we talk about move to Texas. So he ended up having a job with GD, General Dynamic, and his responsibility is the left wing of the F-16. So down there, Hua got kicked around a little bit in love and fall out of love. And one day, I was in a seminary already, and he told Dad that he said, "I think I want to become a priest." And Dad said, "No way in the hell, you don't become a priest because some girl kicked your ass, So he said, "Pray about it." He talked to me too. I said, to discern it. And give him a year, 2 years, and see what happened. And within 6 months, Hua came back and said, No, I think God called me for this. I just cannot wait. So finally, he went into seminary, and he was ordained a year behind me. And he won't let, he kept reminding me of
Where did he go to seminary?
St. Mary in Houston, of San Antonio. And then he went up in Assumption in Houston. Yeah.
So what pulled the family to Texas? Is just the large Vietnamese community down there? 'Cause obviously, they live in a very large, I would say, prosperous Vietnamese community down there. A very nice.
Yeah, Dad, he always has a game plan because he got a bunch of boys. Where is a good place so make sure the boys stay put without getting in trouble with gang, especially. So we set a covenant. It is a safe haven. After that, we moved them to Lexington because of university. And after everything settled in, he said, we need to have a place that for jobs, for marriage, safe house. He traveled everywhere. Even he checked out Houston. He felt Houston is too busy with too much Vietnamese, with a lot of, you hang around too much Vietnamese can become very stagnated, Mm-hmm. And so he chose Dallas area. Dallas it's a great settlement with a lot of new generation Vietnamese, very high educated people.
Great name too.
Dallas, there you go, definitely. And so he came there, and he felt even the Vietnamese that don't live on top of each other, they spread out.
Well, Dallas and Fort Worth, that
Yes.
whole area is spread out
whole-
in general. Yeah,
it's huge.
much. I mean, Houston's a big town, obviously, but it is very different than
Mhm.
Dallas for sure.
So as I said over there, you got plenty of diversity, especially Vietnamese. They don't get knick-knack with each other. So that's the reason. There are plenty of churches, even Vietnamese community churches. In Dallas alone, there's about 6 parishes Vietnamese. In Fort Worth, there's about 6 or 7 as well. So it's huge. Doctors, plenty of doctors, Vietnamese. Funny about now, Dad, he's used to speak Vietnamese, English very well. So he's down to minimal now, because they worship in Vietnamese. They go grocery in Vietnamese. They go to doctor in Vietnamese. They have Vietnamese station, TV station. The only thing that, that he still hang on is Fox News.
I'm assuming they don't have subtitles in Vietnamese down there.
No, it's really Fox News. And they have Vietnamese Fox News version on the internet. So, that's the general gist of it,
So, rapid fire questions here. You ready? Biggest work accomplishment?
Persevere as a priest. Thus far.
Thus far.
Mm-hmm. Especially this parish.
Your biggest physical accomplishment?
Big physical accomplishment. Almost made it to semi-pro in soccer, and broke my knee and ankle.
Well, that sucks.
Which is fine.
Injuries are
Hey, I
horrible.
play. Big accomplishment right now is golf, which I tried to get Deacon Dollar to join in.
Favorite course you've played?
Favorite course? Oh, Valhalla, and it scared the heck out of me because I actually play with a caddy who play like a professional player.
Yeah, caddies can be intimidating.
Oh, very intimidating. For the first time ever, I couldn't play. It freaked me out because the caddy, God, he's so brilliant. He's good, but he's a nice guy.
My favorite story of a caddy is, you remember the show on ESPN, Mike and Mike?
Yes.
Mike Golick is talking about the first time he played at Augusta, and they have caddies there as well. And he said he's at the first green, and he's out there, and the caddy says, "All right, you want to hit this shot. When you hit this green, you want to hit up on this upper plateau so that it runs down and filters down to where the hole is." And Mike Golick says, "I'm just heading in that direction." And that's what it is. Caddies, obviously, your caddy at Valhalla caddies at that course all the time and understands it very well.
And the guy, I remember, it was there was a hole. I forgot what number it was. And I look at the hole on the green, and I say, I would calculate the braking, left to right, probably about 3 cups. And the caddy looked at me and say, "Sir, it's no. You have to putt all the way 90 degree uphill, and we'll go down to that hole." He's right.
A listener, Jason Berry, says you're probably your second favorite golf course is Longview with Jim Colley.
Oh yeah, yes sir. Actually, Canewood is coming back now.
They have done a good job at Canewood.
Canewood is a great course now. Yeah. I think actually Canewood is a tough course. Like it or not, people don't know that. It gives you a lot of surprises. Yeah.
It's got some length to it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's got a great personality.
Yeah. What's your biggest fear in life?
Biggest fears in life is failure.
What's that mean?
Not able to accomplish. For me, like the challenge right now here, we know this parish is tough. You all know that, right? There's a huge hill we have to climb. And now, the situation, we was prepared to build the school, and now coronavirus. Very panicked, and I'm just maintaining prayer and composure and say God will see us through it. Yeah, I want to make sure everybody know that. You know, talked to the principal this morning, and he's very nervous about that. We have a school next year, and I say, God in charge. We have to make sure we do what we need to do now.
That I was thinking about that as one of my current events. I saw where a diocese, I think they have 60 schools, and they've already announced that they're closing 4 of them next year. So, you know, that's not just a thing that's happening here. It's obviously happening everywhere in the Catholic
We
universe.
still don't know the result once this thing is over.
Correct.
What happens, you know? Not just the school,
Anything, everything.
anything.
Favorite parish that you served at?
Favorite parish? Actually, I would say
Not here.
not here. Actually, to say the truth, every parish have a great personality, great people. It carry a certain headache and heartache, but it brings a lot of joy too. You know, unique about this parish and you guys. You know, I encounter so many great people, hardworking, loving, passion. Do we have a hill to climb? Yes, we do. You know, you can't imagine trying to move the entire campus, which been here since 1919. You know, talk about root, you know. And so Danville have a great personality. That's where I actually first introduced golf. It was in Danville. Got a lot of great people.
Jerry Graney, right?
Jerry Graney, Mr. Graney, Mrs. Sandy Houston, you know, all the great names. Ray Schaefer, pray for him. He's not doing very healthy right now. They have an old headache. You know, they think they are smarter than God. Every parish think they're smarter than God. Pikeville have a different personality. Very humble people, you know, hardworking. Mary Queen, you know, it's Mary Queen.
It was an unfair question. It'd be like somebody asking me who's my favorite child.
Right.
You know, depends on who's in the car with you. You know, right? You know what I mean, right? It's just, it's an unfair question, but I didn't actually have that written down. I just ad-libbed that one.
Unless you watch Last Man Standing, then, well, unless you watch it, you don't know what I'm talking about.
Well, I don't watch it, but
Tim Allen, he has a favorite child, and he tells all his children who his favorite child is. But you have to know the series in order to know.
best faith experience you've ever had?
The best faith experience. There are many of them, because like this morning conversation with this gentleman, the doctor, in itself, more on a personal note, you know, was more recent, you know, was praying with a family via phone to anticipate the death of their mother. You know, you can't get in there and hear you. I was in tears. You know, I don't cry. I was so emotional. I pray with great conviction, and I noticed the emotional, and that's faith. That's God.
And I think that's the thing that a lot of people don't understand. If there was a way to get in, you'd have got in. I mean,
Yes.
You know, sometimes you and I don't see eye to eye on things, and sometimes you call me, I don't answer. I call you, you don't answer. But when it comes to situations,
So we call Dallas. But go ahead.
so we call Dallas. But I mean, when it comes down to life and death situations, we got each other's back.
Yes.
And you know, I know that story. The person that you experienced that with told me that story the other day, and you know, before that happened, I said, you know, if anybody can get in, he can get in, and that has to affect you, right?
That's right.
When you can't do what you're called to do, what your vocation entails. I mean, that's got to be
It's
frustrating.
Very frustrating. You know, we've been 23 years of priest. I faced many obstacles to go into the hospital. You know, I plowed through everything, but this is one of those exceptional. You have to respect the CDC. You know, respect the policy, respect what it takes. But you know, the beautiful thing is that God transforms us in different way. You know, God has no boundary, people. You know what I'm saying? And it's so significant. And so to answer the question, every moment.
Good answer.
Every moment.
Good.
Because every day I have a philosophy that I first ordained. I came back after seminary and preach about it, and being a life experience. I'm sure your life too. Just prepare to accept the unexpected. You never know how God called you to be in any kind of situation, and prepare to grab it and respond in the compassionate way that God invited you to live.
Yeah, and me and you've talked about this before. When we was going through the diaconate process, be ordained, we were so looking forward to baptisms and weddings. Yeah, all right, the cheerful ones. More people die than get married or get baptized.
That's why I told you I love funeral.
Think three people our first week. We had to do. So, with anybody out there listening, or at some point, this group right here is going to be involved with your family somehow in death.
In death.
Yeah, for me it was, we were ordained in June, and my dad died in October. I mean, that's to get up there and do his wake service. Your mom just passed away, last month.
I just gave a homily at my mother's funeral a few weeks ago.
Yeah, those I think are the challenging things, when they hit home, right?
Yeah, hit home.
Yeah. And you're right. I think in the first year, I told somebody, we had like 8 or 9 funerals, or maybe even more than that. Probably a little bit more than that. And that's I felt we had so many of them that I kind of got comfortable doing them. Right? You kind of get to the point where you understand the rite, the ritual, and then you can be more. Instead of focusing on knowing the rite, as newly ordained, we can focus on the people. Right?
Yeah.
Which is
that's what the ministry is, right?
Exactly.
Compassion, and that's when Jesus hit home, right? So it's very significant.
I have one last question. Do you have any questions?
No,
none. 0. Well, I
knew
can't.
You had a list.
One of these times, y'all might want to interview me, and I'm not writing the questions for you, just so you all know that.
Don't worry, I got plenty of questions.
Okay. And this question, I think we should ask for everybody that ever is a guest on here. So if you're listening and you're ever going to think about being a guest, you better write this question down. And it's not, who's your pastor? You know where I got that question from, right? Your baptisms. How do people come to your baptisms and not know who as godparents, and not know who their pastors are?
You'd be surprised.
You're going to get asked that question. It's going to get asked. So, what's your favorite part of being Catholic?
My favorite part being Catholic is the universal of who we are. The theology for me, I love Catholic, is that we're going to celebrate Sunday. The merciful God. God is so mercy to us. We are to mercy each other. And what St. John Paul II said about the divine mercy, no darkness can dominate the light of God. For me, that is Catholic theology at its best. Behind bell and whistle, strip all of that down to the core of our, the anchor of our faith is that truth. We don't shy to profess that goodness. That what make me love the Catholic the most. Beside, her sound doctrine. We can talk more about that stuff down the road. But that, for me, you got to have understanding of the compassionate mercy of God before you can talk further about doctrines or, code of canon law or anything else. Because at the end of the law, right, the last code will talk about a care for the soul of the people.
True.
So that's my answer.
Great interview. I hope everybody enjoyed that.
Hope they enjoy it too.
We're going to go just a little bit over. That's all right.
And then also remember this. This is a reminder too. My last name is not Lin. Because when I left Danville after 5 years, and somehow there was a person thought my last name was Lin.
Well, in reality, it's not even Win, right? Right?
No.
Then you have to change your name?
No, I did not. When I came to the state, especially when you become U.S. citizen, you can change your name to whatever you want. Okay. My name is always Lin Win.
Oh, I thought it was.
So your brothers all got American names like Joe and Andy. Well,
No, they use that as a common name for their work.
Right.
For example, my brother Yung is spelled Dung, D-U-N-G. So therefore,
He didn't want to use that.
That's right. So he changed to Joe, but his paperwork's still Yung. And Hung, sound like whatever. So he changed to Andy. That's his, baptismal name. We have some of the name is very complex. There's a guy, literally, his name is spelled Phuc, P-H-U-C. Think about it, rated PG, right? So therefore, he has to change his name to something else, So part of survival is, use the name.
Now, in your office, you used to have your ordination announcement, and it was your full name on there is
Mary Peter
Lin
Xuan Nguyen. Yes.
That's a lot of names.
Well, Peter is my baptismal name.
Okay.
Dad consecrate all kids to the Virgin Mary, so we have to have Mary. So I add that to it. And Lin is my first name. Xuan is my middle name. And Nguyen is family name.
Swan, X-U-A-N?
X-U-A-N. It means spring. That's why my nickname is called Spring Chicken.
That was one of my questions, but we're running a little bit out of time. And I was also going to ask, can't speak. I was going to ask you what your favorite Vietnamese food is. And you can't say pho. Which is good, right? Is there a good pho place in Lexington? Food?
Yes.
How do you say it?
Pho.
Pho.
Mm-hmm. There's a good place called Asian Pho Saigon. It's on Circle 4 toward Chuck E. Cheese.
Good.
Actually, unfortunately, they closed because,
So, didn't get any videos from you this week? No?
Yes, there should be there was a video did
Let's see
it.
if I can pull that up. Go keep talking.
Yeah, from Spectrum News. It was released yesterday. I think we did post it. I also sent out, should release tonight, a video about I want more selfies. I don't have enough family with pictures with me at church.
Yeah. The viewers are looking at the video. They're not hearing the audio, but you can see that there's only two pews basically that have on each side
On
two
each
pews.
side, yes.
Two pews, and if the Knopf singers are listening, we know you don't sit up front. So I don't know why your pictures are up front. We should move the pictures to where they sit because we all know where everybody sits, right? I mean, that's how we identify people.
If you see the latest video I released, you should know why they all sit up front because good Catholic never sit up front. Okay, only bad Catholic. So therefore, I want to make sure they all sit up front, close enough.
Well, I didn't know that. I mean, I would have been sitting in the back all the time. So if you haven't seen that latest video from Spectrum News, you need to go check that out. It's on our Facebook page, been shared by a lot of people. Something, obviously, that you can watch when we get done here. Don't go now. We don't want you to leave now. And as always, hit those like buttons down there at the bottom and make sure you share the video when we get done and it gets posted up with some of your other parishioner friends just so they can know more about the ministry. This is, for us, to me, this is a ministry.
It's really a very important ministry.
Yeah. So we want you all to be we don't want anybody to miss out on it. So,
right.
So we do have a saint of the day.
Did we do the follow-up question?
We're going to do that after the saint of the day.
Okay.
Trust me, we're going to do that. The only reason I want to do saint of the day is because I spent time on it.
That's important.
The saint of the day is, anybody know this guy's name? His name is Saint Benedict Joseph Labre. Labre, French, a patron saint of the homeless. So, which is kind of fitting at this time because the homeless people. I was listening to a news report today about the homeless folks, and they're having a lot of trouble being ministered to. getting food, getting shelter, those things, real tough. So we should pray for the intercession of Saint Benedict to help the homeless folks. There is a homeless contingent in Georgetown now, correct? Yes. Much bigger one in Lexington, but the one here is growing, right?
It's growing and very tragic. We don't have enough support or locations to support them.
So, Saint Benedict, Joseph, Labre, Saint of the Day. So, let's go back. I screwed things up a little bit on our agenda here. Let's go back to follow-up questions. We had a few questions from last week. I don't see any questions from viewers this week so far. No specific questions. There was a question that came into me about card home service, but I think we've addressed that. So you've got one, right?
The email?
Yeah. But we'll listen.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Okay.
And I don't have it on me, so.
You'll have to ad-lib it. Or maybe we'll do that as another topic.
Yeah.
Yes, let's do that. So we had a listener who said that one of her relatives told about a priest in a specific diocese, not the Diocese of Lexington, that went and visited parishioners' homes on Holy Saturday with the Blessed Sacrament and the monstrance. And her question was related to the fact that on Holy Saturday morning, all of Jesus is to be consumed, right, by canon law. Was it canon law or germ or whatever the right? So on Good Friday, after communion on Good Friday, any remaining hosts are consumed, and the tabernacle is left empty. And her question was basically, how does a priest do that if if the rules have been followed and the body of Jesus has been consumed? And I think the answer to that is these are not ordinary times.
Correct. If you read properly, there is a liturgical calendar celebration. Ideally you consume all consecrated hosts by Friday to complete that process. But the church is still prescribed to retain some consecrated hosts for homebounds, for the emergency of that viaticum. To answer that, probably my guessing that he could not celebrate Easter Vigil because there are dioceses throughout the United States that during the early state of this coronavirus that priests would not allow to celebrate Mass. There are dioceses that would not allow priests to celebrate Mass vis-a-vis recording. He have to do live stream like us to consider to fulfill liturgical law and canon law. So yeah, we, like I say, very fortunate with our bishop. He's not micromanagement. So to answer that experience about that priest, probably to answer the straight answer, yes, the consecration of the species is always there, because Jesus fulfilled the obligation. We celebrating this whole Tridium passage, but you say that he has no Eucharist to do that is no. Like one thing is a blessing as priest. Right now, if there is an urgency need of consecrated hosts, I can celebrate right away to accomplish that. In the rite is permitted to do that.
I did notice after adoration, like I told you, there's only five hosts left. I was getting worried.
Now we got only one left.
There's only one left.
Yeah, because I dispensed to the doctor to give him enough hosts for him to do this ministry. So he has it.
Till Wednesday.
Till Wednesday. No, Sunday.
Sunday. Oh,
Sunday.
that's right.
Sunday.
Yeah.
Sunday.
I was thinking it was like this is Sunday night.
One of my favorite questions that gets asked every day around my house is, what day is it?
Yeah, exactly. Like just now.
The Groundhog Day.
Yeah. And there's a meme going around Facebook that says something like, this is the longest March. March had 62 days, and April is going to have 30 weeks or something like that. Just, time is is standing still is what it kind of feels like right now. Really stagnant side of it. Kind of a repeat question that we covered. I think I don't know if wasn't the last one. It was the one before that. I think our episode 2 on the apostolic blessing and the pardon, which we've kind of explained, but I think we were just talking about funerals, right? Talking about funerals. That's a case when and I think Pope Francis, when he issued that, really had some foresight to understand that there were going to be a lot of people that were going to be dying alone and weren't going to be able to get their last rites. I mean, if they were at home, or in hospice, I think you could probably get in. But if you're in an ICU or something like that, it's impossible to get in. And so that apostolic pardon and that blessing enables them to get the mercy, to experience the mercy of God through that they would have experienced in rest rites. So I hope that answers your question. It was Barbara, I think, that asked that question. If not, you can go back to episode, I think it was episode 2. Is it? 2. Because it wasn't last week, I think. So episode 2, which is on Facebook under, if you go to St. Francis and John, facebook.com/St. Francis and John /live, you'll see all the videos that we've done on Facebook going back, and then also on the YouTube channel. Is a good way to watch these too. We cross-post these over to YouTube, and one of the reasons we do that is it's easier on smart TVs to watch YouTube than it is on Facebook. And it's our hope eventually. I didn't want to do it during the Triduum, and the Wi-Fi in church is suspect, but we would like to cross-post and live stream these to both of those services just to maybe capture a little bit more people. So there's also a question about just war theory. I think that'll have to wait for another episode.
Just war theory?
Yeah.
Are we have war coming up?
I think the world's almost at peace, really.
At peace, yeah.
Everybody's afraid to interact with anybody. Did you have any questions that you
No, just the email I got, and
Go ahead.
since we're going to tackle the just war, we'll tackle that one email I got next week too, because that goes into, that's like 6 or 7 different questions in one question, so we'll have to break that
A
down.
lot of those contraception, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So just war theory and contraception, some good hard doctrine. I think just war theory goes back to Aquinas, right? Am I right in saying that?
Augustine, yeah.
Sorry.
Because
He's the one who originated the theory behind it.
See, I'm just a technology guy. You guys are the knowledge people. So,
you bring those questions.
yeah.
But that's a good question. But we'll tackle it next time.
Yeah, I mean, no, let's...
And it's interesting. I enjoy talking about, not that because it's war, but the aspects of what the church sits down and tries to think all these things through.
Yeah. So for those of you that are listening, if you're listening live or on the recording, again, make sure you comment. Any comments that you post after this recording, we'll still get those. So if you have thoughts, you want to come back and give us some thoughts or ideas for future shows, future guests. I told these guys we are upgrading our technology. You should see a difference. If not next week for show 5, the week after that for sure, which hopefully will improve the quality substantially. But we also want to talk about guests. I've got a short list of some folks. If you'd like to see us, talk to somebody about their faith, let us know that. And, similar to what, talking to Father Lynn about his story, or talking to somebody else about their job and how they live their faith at their job, or any of those types of things, I think are good stories, because one of the things we really want to accomplish with this is to let people see, that their lives aren't maybe as unique or different than other people's, and to hear a story and see how your life, maybe you experienced some of the things that Father Lynn experienced in his life, with his big family. Dallas, I didn't realize how similar your all's backgrounds are.
Yeah, we would like the same beer.
Yeah, but that helps form your faith, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's about who you are, and we come at things from different ways. But so anyway, you guys have any final thoughts?
Well, my final thought is I plan on having wild turkey for dinner tomorrow.
You gonna demonstrate?
Oh yeah.
Tomorrow. Hold on. Let me get the camera on you directly.
There you go,
Hold on.
directly on me.
Solo shot here. Here we go.
Tomorrow is turkey season opens tomorrow. It's going to be cold, but I plan on being out there.
What do you call that? What do you call that gizmo?
That is a box call. It's called a box call. This was a gift given to me by, if he's listening, Jamie Bramall.
Jamie Bramall.
But I plan on being out there tomorrow, even though it's going to be cold. Plan on having wild turkey for.
If you want to come
And
over,
I'll drop some off for you.
drop me off some meat.
He hits me up every year.
And I still waiting?
No, I get it every year. I just don't drop it off later. If anybody out there, I'm always looking for a different place to hunt. Anybody out there got a place for me to hunt?
You bow hunting or gun?
Guns tomorrow.
Guns tomorrow.
But you can use a bow, but I shotgun with a turkey.
Actually,
But,
yesterday
I'm always looking for a fun
I
deer
saw
hunter,
a turkey that Terry Ward showed it to me in her backyard. Big one. So that's a good point for you.
Terry
to check
Ward,
out.
if you're listening, I'll be the winner of my no.
You'll climb up on a roof and use that as your stand. Father, any final thoughts?
Yeah, just hope everybody enjoyed the show, and it's tough out there. Right now when we become very antsy and concerned about school reopen or not, but just be patient in the thought of this great season that we are celebrating. The Mercy's Passion Celebrate coming up, and just anchor onto the goodness that God has for us, and pray, and we will overcome this. So.
Prayer is important, and the other thing too, I think, is you mentioned that things that are on top of your people's minds are just what's happening with the school and those things. We do need your contributions.
Right. On
the bottom of the screen there, you see ssfj.org. That'll take you right to the giving page on the website. If you can give at this time, obviously if you're unemployed and your future is uncertain, we understand that. But if your job is still going on and you're like me, working from home and ready not to work from home, I didn't really say that, Kelly, if you're listening. I enjoy really working at home a lot. I do. I got my office set up. I can be in the bathroom and the kitchen in 12 steps. I mean, that's like the perfect office, right? But so if you're blessed to be working from home and your income hasn't been affected by this pandemic, please go to ssfj.org and donate. All your funds are needed, and that's an easy way to do it.
I would like to add a thought too. Talk to Dan Bordell this morning. Of course, a great concern, but our conviction always maintain Catholic education. So I want to make sure everybody who are here out there, those who belong to St. John's School, don't get panicked. Do your part. Do support. Because everything we run based on a budget right now. Our teacher is working very hard in an NIT version of it, and just be part of that. We still in education right now, but a different way. They work very diligent. 2 teachers was here until 5 or 6 tonight, and they make a lot of things happening. So make sure everybody out there. But I'm intend to draft a letter to all St. John parents to make sure they do their part to support what we are doing. We all take a big burden. All of us. It takes all of us to accomplish a task. So keep that in mind. A lot of praying. So
yeah, I flashed up the adoptive student too, which is probably as important now as it ever has been. That same ssfj.org will take you to you can give to adoptive student through that same online giving portal. It's just an important time. Obviously there's a lot of uncertainty around schools, Catholic schools across the country, and we need to do what we can to keep our school functioning at the level that it has. So, which one of you wants to give a blessing?
I think Deacon Dallas, because he need a blessing before he can shoot a turkey.
Name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this time together with our parishioners and the viewers out there. Please get us through these tough times. And even though it's a virtual Mass, please draw us together in unity towards our common goal, which is always heaven. And may the grace of God be with us here and everyone out there listening. And may Almighty God bless us all. Father, Son, Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. And that's the show. As Dallas said, join us Sunday, 10:30, live streaming Mass.
And we do again next Friday.
And next Friday, we'll be back here next Friday. And we hope you guys have enjoyed the show. Obviously, we enjoy doing it, and it's something that we enjoy a lot. So look forward to seeing y'all next week. Thank you.
God bless.
And have a great night and a great weekend.